Okay, happy Sabbath. We are now, let's see, today's date is, what is it? April 8th. April 8th, right? April 8th, 2017. And we're still at the time of day, and we're still studying Daniel 11. All right? I want to make sure we remember where we were last week. Daniel 11, and we were studying about the different wars between the East and the West. Remember that? The East and the West, and there was wars between the East and the West, and these wars were in, there's Islam involved in these wars. And let me go to that slide so that we can go and review. All right, where is that slide? Okay, this is the East and West wars and where Islam is involved. All right, okay. Well, let me see.
We're talking about the proxy war, right?
Yeah. Right, we will have to make sure we understand, and all right, there you go. All right, the East and West wars, the first East and West wars where Islam was involved was the Byzantine Sassanid Wars in 602 to 628 AD. In that war, the East, which is the Persian army, the area of Persia, or now Iran, which is the Sassanid Empire, was fighting against the Byzantine Empire for a long time. For 26 years they were fighting, right? And finally that war was decided at the Battle of Nineveh in 627 AD, right? And this Battle of Nineveh is where Islam was on the sidelines watching and waiting until these two powers fought themselves and became so weak that even though the Byzantine Empire, which is the West, even though the West won, right? And this is a direct war. It's not a proxy war. The East was directly fighting the West, right? And the West won. But they were so weak at that time that Abu Bakr, the Caliph, Abu Bakr, was able to attack the Sassanid war and defeat and get rid of the Zoroastrian religion, right? Right. So this is a direct war, and this direct war was between a East and the West, and Islam was just waiting around, waiting for, biding their time, just watching and waiting, and see when it's a good time for them and their leader to attack, and they attacked, right? Okay. The other war is the long drawn out Cold War. Now this is a hot war. You could say this is a hot war because it's a direct war. This one is a Cold War because it's a proxy war. Yeah, America was not involved directly by sending, lots of soldiers and because it was a proxy war. And America was supporting the war by sending arms to the Mujahideen, right? In the Soviet-Afghan war that lasted for 10 years. And finally in 1989, Russia fell, right? Russia fell. That USSR fell, sorry. USSR fell. You're right. Thank you, RC. Yeah, that's right. And the fact that the Mujahideen and Osama bin Laden could actually think that they brought down Soviet Russia, which they did. The Soviet Russia, United Socialist State of Russia, right? USSR. Russia. Yeah, USSR. was brought down by the Muslims, right? They were emboldened, so now they are ready to attack their enemy, right? In 2001, right? Osama bin Laden attacked America now, right? So this is the first war. This is the second war. So we now know that in the Syrian war, which is the third war here, where America has been fighting against Russia for a long time, it started off as a proxy war. But we know to know what happens in the third, you have to add the first and the second. So in the first is a direct war, and the second is a proxy war. So we know that in this war, it's going to be a proxy war, which it is, but it will escalate to a direct war. And do you know what happened just yesterday? What happened yesterday? The U.S. sent 50 missiles and attacked directly. It actually escalated into a direct war. Can you imagine that we were saying last week that this was going to happen, and yesterday it happened? You know, prophecy is being fulfilled right now, right? Because we know this war is the Raphia war. The Raphia war, who's going to win? Now, we know that America is fighting Russia right now, right? Who's going to win? Yeah, it's the king of the south. You know, right now, Russia is going to win this war, right? And how does Russia win the war? When it uses mercenaries, from Egypt. When our mercenaries from Egypt, actually, Egypt also symbolizes Islam also. Because right now the Sunni and the Shiites are fighting over there, right? And the side that is for Soviet Union is the Shiites. So the Shiites going to win, right? Okay. But the issue is that when they win, what are they going to do? They're going to consolidate their power and make a caliphate. And then they're going to attack again, right? So that's what's going to happen. Okay. All right. So we'll continue. That's where we ended last week, I think, right? Okay. That's where we ended last week. Yeah. And this is the 12th Imam. Okay. Now how do we line that up with the fifth trumpet and the sixth trumpet, which is in Revelation 9, with what happens in Daniel 11, where the Raphia war is at midnight, and the Panium war is in the midnight cry. Now we know that between the Raphia war and the Panium war, you know, the Raphia war was when the Egyptian mercenaries, they helped win the war for the king of the south, and they revolted and made their own country, right? And so they're emboldened to make their own country, all right? We know that. That's the story of what happened. We know that in the fifth trumpet, for 150 years, Islam can only torment but not kill, right? That's from 1989. From 1989 on, Islam can only torment. Is Islam tormenting right now? Yeah, it constantly torments. But what's going to happen at midnight? Islam is going to let loose. Here's at midnight. They're going to let loose. The issue is that they're going to let loose and they're going to be used as mercenaries to fight each other. One side is going to go for the king of the north, one side going to go king of the south, and they're going to help these two kings fight. Isn't that what we're seeing right now in Syria? Right? Yeah. But we know the one that the king of the south is going to win. And then they're going to consolidate under Muhammad II. And Muhammad II, what does he do? He orders a big cannon, right? Because with this big cannon, he's going to attack America after America wins the war against Russia. Right? This is what's going to happen. And you're going to have to see this, because it makes you realize you have to know what's going to happen at midnight. And if you know what happens at midnight, what happens at midnight? Your probation starts to close. All right? And we're going to see all of this happening. Okay. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Or will we continue? All right. We'll continue. And I remember we were talking about the 12th Imam. Did anybody of you go and read up on what's the 12th Imam? Yeah, it's the Shiites, right? The Shiites believe that there's going to be a 12th Imam that's going to come. All right. Okay. Yeah, this 12th Imam is going to come and going to bring in peace to the world, going to unite the world, and it's going to be under this 12th Imam. You know, it's got to be here. There's their prediction, you know, but if they realize that they're going to have to consolidate under the 12th Imam, it fits perfectly with what we know according to prophecy, is that there's going to be a consolidation of Islam here, right? Okay. All right, we'll continue. Now we go back to Daniel 11, verse 23. We're still not done with this verse. I can't believe how long this verse is going. 11, verse 23. We can keep going with this, right? Okay. And after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully, for he shall come up and shall become strong with a small people. If there's a league, where's this league? This league is it's like an alliance. Where are the alliances? Do we see an alliance at midnight? We're talking about Raphia war, right? What is the alliance that happens at midnight? When Annas and Caiaphas makes an alliance with Pontius Pilate and Herod, right? Yeah, that's a church and state, right? To take Jesus and crucify him, right? So the wise priest is going to be taken and be taken to the spiritual church. The spiritual Israel is going to betray, right? Wow, betray, because there's a league already made there. Okay, we know there's a league also, because Russia and Russia and America at midnight is going to also fight, and Russia is going to win. After that, they have to make an alliance, right? But right after the league, after that alliance with him, he shall work deceitfully. Who is he that works deceitfully after the alliance? The Pope. How is the Pope going to work deceitfully? Right? He's going to work deceitfully, and he shall come up and he shall become strong with. Okay, we're going to have to see, how does the Pope come up strong? All right. Now we have to see Russia and America. We go back to Daniel 11, verse 11 to 12. And the king of the south shall be moved with choler, and shall come forth and fight with him, even the king of the north. And she shall forth a great multitude, and the multitude shall be given into his hand. This is the Battle of Raphia. This happens at midnight. Daniel 11, verse 11. Okay, this is the battle. And when he hath taken away the multitude, his heart is lifted up. So the king of the south, which is Russia, right after the war, he has won. And what happens? His heart is lifted up. Now, what does it mean that his heart is lifted up? He becomes proud. Yeah, obviously, he becomes proud. Okay? Right? We remember the story? When this is the king of the south. This is Ptolemy. Ptolemy the fourth. Ptolemy the fourth, after he wins, he goes, parades around, he goes to Jerusalem, and he wants to enter into the holy place. Right? And the priest tell him, no, you can't enter here. He becomes very mad. And he becomes sick. And then he goes back to Egypt. And over there, he persecutes all the Jews. And he takes the Jews and puts them in a hippodrome. And the elephants, he makes them drunk. But these elephants, instead of attacking the Jews, attacked a lot of the people. But in the meantime, he kills tens of thousands of Jews there. And he also has to deal with the Egyptian revolt. And then the Jews, who he actually tortures, he brands them with the sign of Bacchus, right? This is the sign of Bacchus on their head, right? On their face. The sign of Bacchus is the wine, right? Not only that. So we're seeing that they're given the mark of the beast, right? Okay, right? But his heart is lifted up. His heart is lifted up. Where else can we see? So how else is the king of the south lifted up? Now, in the Bible, we will see there's other kings that our hearts are lifted up. The one that we remember is in Daniel 5. Who is it? Well, Balthazar is. Now, Balthazar, his heart is lifted up. How was his heart lifted up? He decides to make a party. And in this party, what did he take out of his treasury? The golden and silver vessels. And what did he do with those gold and silver vessels? He poured wine in it, right? And he drank. He drank wine with the gold and the silver vessels that came from where? From Jerusalem, right? Right. So when his heart was lifted up, he drank wine with the vessels from Jerusalem. And where was he drinking? Right in front of the candlestick. And the candlestick was in front of across from the wall. And the wall was a plastered wall. Now, what does it mean, a plastered wall? Plastered wall means a plastered altar, right? It means an altar. Right. It's a plastered altar, right? So a plastered wall is like an altar. So he was drinking out of golden vessels, out of the temple in Jerusalem, and he was right in front of the candlestick, and he was which was in front of the altar. Now, where was he? So spiritually, even though he was in Babylon, where was he? Where was he committing this abomination? In the holy place. So, because what is in front of the candlestick? The throne of the Father and Jesus, which is the table of showbread. And that's the altar, right? That also represents the altar, all right? Yeah, that's where Jesus, right? That's where Jesus also sits. Right? That also represents the altar, okay? And he has lifted up himself above the Lord of heaven. And then what happens? The finger of God, here I got the finger of God, writing right on the wall. Writing down what? What was the finger of God writing? His judgment. What's going to happen to him and what's going to happen to the kingdom. It's going to fall. And it's going to be given to the kings of the east. Right? Right. So when his heart was lifted up, what was he doing? He's doing an abomination. Even though he was in Babylon, he was doing abomination as if he was in his temple of God. Right? Right. Okay. It was like an abomination. Now, there's another king of the south. 2 Chronicles 26, verses 16 to 19. This king of the south is the king of Judah. His name is Uzziah. And when he was strong, his heart was lifted up to his destruction. He transgressed against the Lord his God, and he went into the temple of the Lord to burn incense. He wanted to burn incense in the altar of incense. The altar of incense is in a holy place. And what happened when he went to burn incense? He got leprosy, right, on his forehead. Just like the Jews got the mark of Bacchus on their face, right? The wine of Babylon. This one, he got leprosy on his forehead. Right? It's amazing here that, that the priest of Aaron, right? Right. Here is the sons of Aaron. Now, Azariah, the priest, went in after him, and with him 80 priests of the Lord that were valiant men who withstood Uzziah the king. So there's priests, and there's 80 other priests who wanted to keep him from coming into the most holy place, the holy place, because there's Azariah and 80 other. So how many are there? So there's 81, right? Because the Azariah and the priest that went in him, with him 80. So there's 80 plus 1. So there's 81. The amazing thing is when we're trying to find out where is this 81 at midnight. This got to be at midnight because the hand of the Lord was writing on the wall when the king lifted himself up. King lifted himself up at midnight, right? Now, Ellen White happened to be 81 years old when she last attended the 1909 General Conference session. In that General Conference session, she gave 7 sermons. And in all those 7 sermons is essentially the midnight cry message, like at midnight. That was at midnight, 1909. And she was 81 years old, right? She was giving the midnight cry message to Seventh-day Adventism, right? Okay, so we see the king is lifted up. King is lifted up unto his... Now this is the king of the south, right? And after the Battle of Raphia, it was Ptolemy, the king of the south, who lifted himself up. And they were entering the temple and they wanted to sacrifice where they ought not to stand. What is that? Abomination of desolation. Where do you see the abomination of desolation? Actually, you see it in Psalms 74, verse 1 to 4. O God, why hast thou cast off forever? Why doth thine anger smoke against the sheep of thy pasture? Remember thy congregation which thou hast purchased of old, the rod of thine inheritance which thou hast redeemed, this Mount Zion wherein thou hast dwelt. Remember, God's people. Lift up thy feet unto the perpetual desolations. Oh, abomination of desolation. Lift up thy feet. Even all the enemy hath done wickedly in the sanctuary. Right? That's a desolation. Even all the enemy. So this enemy is in a generic sense. It could be any enemy that comes in and does a desolation in the sanctuary is an abomination of desolation. So abomination of desolation, the point is, it does not have to be the king of the north. It actually can also be the king of the south. Right? So how is Russia, see, and they set up their hand signs for signs. It is their sign, is the sign of the abomination of desolation. Any enemy that wants to enter into the holy place and do abomination is doing the abomination of desolation. Right? Now Matthew 24. Jesus said, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of the desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Now, which verse in the book of Daniel is Jesus referring to when you see the abomination of desolation? Look at Daniel 11 verse 36. Look at Daniel 11 verse 36. Right? Now you can see the king that exalted himself or lift himself up. Okay, Daniel 11 verse 36. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself, right? And magnify himself above every god, and he shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, right? He's doing an abomination, right? And he's exalting himself. When is he exalting himself? When he goes into the temple, right? And does the abominable things where he ought not to be. So Jesus is actually referring to this, the king that exalts himself, right? And this is the armies of Rome, right? For this time period, at the time of Jesus, he's talking about the time period for Rome that comes in. Okay? All right. Now, it can be also Russia. So how does Russia commit the abomination of desolation? You got to read this. This is actually from July 8, 2016. Putin signs new restrictions that limit where and how Christians share the gospel. July 8. Now this is from Christianity Today. This week, meaning just last year, this week, Russian President Vladimir Putin approved a package of what? Anti-terrorism laws that usher in tighter restrictions on missionary activity and evangelism. Wait a minute. So Christianity cannot do missionary activity and evangelism with the pretext of what? Terrorism. Do you see this? Despite prayers and protests from religious leaders and human rights advocates, the Kremlin announced Putin's approval yesterday. The amendments, including laws against sharing faith in homes. Oh my. Online. So what we're doing right now is going to be outlawed. It's happening in Russia right now. Or anywhere but recognized church buildings go into effect July 20. It's in the pretext of anti-terrorism. Because the terrorists are going to do this, right? The terrorists with religious pretext, right? Earlier reporting in June 29, Christians in Russia won't be allowed to email. They are not allowed to email their friends an invitation to church or to evangelize in their own homes if Russia's newest set of surveillance and anti-terrorism laws are enacted. The proposed laws, considered the country's most restrictive measures in post-Soviet history, place broad limitations on missionary work, including preaching, teaching, and engaging in any activity designed to recruit people into a religious group. So what does this say? You're trying to recruit people to become terrorists in Syria and Kazakhstan and Tajikistan. But it's really against the Christians. Can you see this? It happens in Russia first.
That's what happens when you spread fear into a populace. Now, once you spread that fear into that populace is relying upon you for their safety and their security.
Mm.
So now you tell them, hey, this is what they do. This is how they recruit. So if you want to be safe, we must stop all of it.
Yeah, there you go.
A blanket thing, and little by little, that populace does not realize what they're actually losing.
Right.
But you still tell them, oh, this will make you safer. And it really is.
But who is their actual target?
Yeah.
The Christians, right? It's pretty amazing. Right. Yeah. To share their faith, citizens must secure a government permit through a registered religious organization, and they cannot evangelize anywhere besides churches and other religious sites. The restrictions even apply to activity in private residencies and online. So are they making what? You think America is going to start this? No. Russia starts this. Russia is already starting this. Okay, so when does the king of the south exalt himself? At midnight. So what are we going to see? At midnight, after Russia wins, and Russia sees that the Islam is starting to consolidate itself, what's it going to do? It's going to start Sunday laws. Start Sunday law is anti-terrorism, right? They're really...
Why wouldn't it be against Muslims?
It's the pretext is always against Muslims.
What's their main reason?
It's anti-terrorism, but they eventually will spread across Christianity, right?
It would make sense if it was for Muslims.
It does, because that's the pretext, right? But look they're already doing this, and it applies to Christianity too. Can you imagine? This is actually happening over there. So at midnight, you're going to see that there's going to be abomination of desolation that's going to be starting in Russia. Wow. Oh, it's close. It's already starting there. Yeah, it's close. All right. So let's put all these things together. Let's see if we can add these things. This is where we already know. Remember, this is the fifth and the sixth trumpet. The first woe and the second woe. All right. If this is midnight, we go back. This is 9/11. 9/11 is when, well, the what Islam torments but does not kill, right? Since 9/11. That's July 27, 1299. That's the beginning of the 150 years, right? So before that, what's the waymark before that? That's 1989, right? The 606. What happens at 606? 606 is when there's the smoke that comes out of the bottomless pit. And the key is given to the star that falls from heaven. Who's the star that falls from heaven? The prophet, right? And the prophet has the key. What's the key? He's watching the Battle of Nineveh, right? He's watching the Battle of Nineveh. And then when he sees that they have totally exhausted themselves, then he's going to attack, right? He's going to attack. Remember, he attacks at 9/11, right? Okay. So this is where we we go back in the timeline and put it right there, right? This is what happens from 606 to 1453, right? This is and then all the way to 1840, because this is the story of the fifth trumpet and the sixth trumpet, right? Revelation 9. Okay. Now with Revelation 9, we got to put that into consideration with the Goths and the Vandals, which is the trumpets now. Now let's put the trumpets. The trumpets come in. We know we're putting the trumpets, the Goths that come from the north. They're going to come from the north at 1989. All right. We can go into more detail about it, but I'm not going to. All right, because we know that the Vandals, where are the Vandals coming from now? The Vandals come from where? What did Uriah Smith and the Bible says? From the land of Chittim. Where is Chittim? Carthage. Where is Carthage? Tunisia. What is Tunisia now? It's a Muslim country, and it attacks the economy, right? Didn't Islam attack America? Right here? Right. Okay. Now what comes after the Goths? This is the first trumpet. Vandals is the second trumpet. What's the third trumpet? The Huns. Attila the Hun, right? Now Attila the Hun comes from the eastern part of Russia that has now become Muslim countries. So this is the Muslims from Russia, Do you remember at the Raphia War? Who's going to win? The Muslims that's on Russia's side, right? That's the Huns. Wow. Do you see that? Isn't it that Raphia? Raphia is the Russians is going to use Islam and they're going to win. The Huns are from Russia. And they're that area now, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, all those countries, all the stands there, they're all Islam. Do you see that? Okay, who comes in after the Huns? Well, you know what? This is pretty amazing. Because the Huns were eventually defeated, but not all of them were defeated. In other words, they're not completely plucked out. Because remember, Huns were not plucked out. They were defeated, but a lot of them escaped. And they were defeated at the Battle of Pannonia. Pannonia? Panium? They were defeated at Pannonia, and they were absorbed back into southern Russia. Right? But they were not completely defeated. Just like the Visigoths, they were not completely defeated. They were absorbed into southern Spain. Right? Okay. But it was the Ostrogoths and the Heruli and the Vandals that were plucked out. Right? Who's the Heruli? Heruli came from the area of Ukraine. Where's Ukraine? It's Russia. Isn't there a war with Russia here? Boy, you see this? How it all fits? Yeah, but they're going to be defeated, right? Yeah, because Heruli is also plucked out. Right? But Heruli comes from Ukraine. It's from Russia. Okay? All right. Wow. Anyway, you put all these lines together, now they're starting to, it's like, it looks like it's confusing, but then when you go to the story, you know what? It all fits, right? Okay. All right. Let's see, what else can we put up here? I'm just trying to fill in the board here with all kinds of illustration. Oh, yeah, there's the 12th Imam. Right? The 12th Imam comes in at this time period. Right? 12th Imam, I don't know whether they will actually say it's the 12th Imam, but they are consolidating their power. Right at this time period. Okay? All right. Any questions? A lot of information, right? Yeah. So this one, we have to let it sink into first, because we are now living right here. We know what's going to happen. We are not going to have to be confused. So when you woke up on Friday morning and you find out that America just bombed Syria, should you have been surprised? No, you shouldn't have been surprised. You know what? In a few months or whenever it's going to happen, when America actually is defeated by Russia in the Syrian war, are you going to be surprised? He says, wait a minute, America is the most powerful country in the world. How could it lose to Russia? Are you going to be surprised? No, you shouldn't be surprised, because the Bible already tells you America's going to lose. Right? America's going to lose. Yeah, America's going to lose. The economy is going to go down. And that's what? The Pope is going to come in. And the Pope is going to come in. All right? Okay. All right, let's see one thing else. All right. Oh. Now let us put into timelines, line upon line, where it is that the abomination of desolation. We now see that Russia is going to actually be a player that brings in the abomination of desolation as well. We thought it was only going to be in the United States, but it's actually going to be in Russia too. All right. To see the abomination of desolation, we're going to have to also see that this is the story of the 1260, right? 1260 starts from 538, and who persecutes from 538 until 1798? The papacy and atheism, because papacy persecutes up until about 25 years prior to 1798, persecution by the papacy almost wholly ceased for 25 years. Now we have a 25 right there, right? Because this is where now atheism under France now persecutes. So papacy persecutes here and atheism persecutes here. And this is a 25. Now 25 means something here. Okay, because you can find 25 in Ezekiel 8. What's the Ezekiel 25? 25 men that bow down to the east. Okay, what's the first abomination? Image of jealousy. Image of jealousy. All right, we know that, we've gone through this before. Image of jealousy. Right. What's the second abomination? Secret chambers, and that's spiritualism. Doesn't spiritual. All right, and then weeping for Tammuz. Right, and then bowing down to the sun. 25 men bowing down to the sun. 25 men bowing down to the sun at the Sunday law, right? This is the line for the Nethinims, right? 25 men bowing down after when they enact the Sunday law, right? But before that, there's an image of the beast test that's set up here. That abomination of desolation comes in here, right? Abomination of desolation comes in here. Abomination of desolation comes in here. This is the image of the beast test right in this time period, right? And there's a false latter rain that comes here, right? That's the weeping for Tammuz. Right? All these lines will be, the more we study this, the more it will come to light, the more it will make sense, right? But we see the 25 men bowing down to Tammuz. Bowing down to the east. And here is the weeping of Tammuz, right? And the abomination of desolation is being set up here and here, okay? That's the Sunday laws coming in. We see that Sunday laws coming in, right? Okay, what about for the... Now we put the line for the Levites. Now the Levites, right, the close of probation for the Nethinims is here. For the Levites, the close of probation is at the midnight cry. Right. So when are the Levites going to bow down to this? The 25 men of the Levites are going to bow down to the east. They're going to start doing here. But when you look at here, if their Sunday law comes here, this is the image of the beast has to be set up here. Do you see an image of the beast being set up at the midnight? When is the image of the beast being set up at midnight?
Last year, 2016.
No, not yet. At midnight. At midnight. When is the image of the beast being set up? When at midnight, who do they arrest? They arrest the wise priest. And they bring them to SDA, to the spiritual Israel. And spiritual Israel is going to take them to the government. So the government and spiritual Israel is already making in an image of the beast already, right? Because there's an alliance, right? At midnight, right? That's when Jesus was. So there's an image of the beast test. Do you see the image of the beast test here? So this is for the Levites. Okay, now when we put it for the priests. The priests, close of probation, like their Sunday law, happens here. But there has to be an image of the beast for the Levites. We have to, for the priest. We have to see an image of the beast being set up before midnight, because that's our close of probation, right? Typified by the Sunday law, right? So we have to see the image of the beast set up. Where do we see the image of the beast being set up right now for us? That is a sign, midnight is coming, because there's image of the beast being set up. When the apostate Protestantism now is able to control the government. How? By controlling the Supreme Court and the Capitol and the White House, right? Do you see that the image of the beast is already being set up even starting November 8th, when the 45th president was actually elected. That should be a sign for us. We should recognize that is a preparatory for the Sunday laws to start, right? We have to know. That sets up the house of cards. That sets up the perfect scenario, the perfect storm, right? For Sunday laws to happen. Now, Sunday laws haven't started yet. We know it won't start really here. But for us, that should be a sign that it's about to start. Okay? It's already starting. We are actually living, we're living, we're very close. All right, we're very close. Yeah. All these things showing up they're very close. Okay? All right. Okay. Now we go to Daniel 11 verse 24. He shall enter peaceably, even upon the fattest places of the province, and he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey, the spoil and riches, and shall forecast his devices from among the strongholds, even for a time. Now, in the story, in the type, at the time of this, who is that enters into the fattest place of the province? After Syria and Israel is conquered, the fattest place of the province is Egypt, right? The three obstacles. The first is Syria. So Rome has to conquer Syria, and then it conquers the glorious land, and then it conquers Egypt. So now it enters into the fattest place of the province. And he shall do that which his fathers have done, nor his fathers' fathers. Oh, wait a minute. He shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. Okay, let's see what Uriah Smith says about this. Okay? The usual manner in which nations had, before the days of Rome, entered upon valuable provinces and rich territory was by war and conquest. What did Julius Caesar says? Fini, Fidi, Vici, right? That's how he comes, right? Remember that? I came, I saw, Fini, Vidi, Vici, right? Right. It was by war and conquest. Rome was now to do what he had not done by his fathers or his fathers' fathers. The fathers' fathers used to just come and conquer by might. But now, Rome is going to do something different. He's not going to conquer with military power. Father, namely, received these acquisitions through peaceful means. The custom before unheard of was now inaugurated. Kings leaving by legacy their kingdoms to Rome. Rome came into possessions of large provinces in this manner. How is it? They're going to do treaties. By treaties. He's going to conquer using treaties. All right? Okay. I like this part. You see that? It's by treaties. Before it was by war. And now it's by treaties. Okay. All right. So, who's the king of the north now? Who enters peaceably? Who enters peaceably? And in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom. Who's this vile person that comes in peaceably? Yeah, Tiberius. So who is this in Daniel 11:24 now that comes in peaceably? The 45th president. So who's the 45th president that's going to do things that his fathers does not do, used to do, but he's not going to do now? How does he do it?
Let's make a deal.
How does he do it?
That's his book. That is division.
For those who have his
There you are.
for those who thus come under the dominion of Rome, deriving no small advantage therefrom, they were treated with kindness and leniency. Hey, you know what? We're going to make treaties. Well, I'm going to uproot treaties and we're going to make new treaties, all kinds of treaties, right? We're going to make a deal, right? We're going to help you, but you're going to help us too, right? We're going to make a wall, but we're going to have to pay for it. It was like having the prey and spoil distributed among them. So he's gonna help other countries, but other countries got to help him, right? They were okay. What did his fathers used to do? Remember Theodore Roosevelt? What was his what? What is his motto? Speak softly and carry a big stick. What's his big stick? His military, right? In the old days, the United States used its big muscle, power to intimidate, right? But Trump's going to do it differently. Yeah, mainly through his treaties. I remember this one. We were eyeball to eyeball, and I think the other fellow just blinked. Who's Dean Rusk? The Secretary of State for Kennedy. Right? You remember that saying? Oh yeah, it was like, it's military, it's war against, it's, who's gonna be more powerful militarily, right? Yeah. This is the Cuban Missile Crisis, October 24, 1962. Dean Rusk was the Secretary of State, right? All right. That's the way they used to. Right now, they're gonna compel other nations. Oh, other nations, you gotta join us, right? And we're gonna make treaties with you so that you're gonna accomplish what we need to accomplish, right? With treaties. All right. To the latter portion of this verse, Bishop Newton gives the idea of forecasting devices from strongholds. Okay, now he's going to do treaties, and he shall forecast his devices from strongholds. What is the stronghold of Rome? The strong fortress of the seven-hilled city, right? That's his stronghold. What happened when Napoleon came and took him from his stronghold? And with Berthier the general, right? He received a deadly wound. He lost when he was taken out of his stronghold, out of the city of Rome. What happened when Rome was transferred when the kingdom capital was transferred from Rome to Constantinople? It was taken out of Rome. Then they were susceptible to all the attacks of the barbarians, right? Right. So the stronghold was their city. All right. Okay. What's their city? The Vatican City. It's so small, but that's their stronghold. As long as he's in his stronghold, it's strong, right? Right?
Oh, that's nice.
That's a nice picture.
The richest city in the
Look at those lights.
It's pretty amazing. The eternal city. It's beautiful. It's beautiful there, right? Yeah, with the Sistine Chapels right there. That right here is where he actually goes and speaks to the people. Right, that window right there. That's right there. And there's a chimney right here. What happens with that chimney? There's a chimney right here. One day, right? Yeah. You gotta go there. You gotta go see it. Oh, you really don't have to. All right. So what's the stronghold? If this is the king of this is Rome, what's the king of the north's stronghold now? What is America's stronghold? What's his stronghold? What's his stronghold? He's going to forecast his devices from against the strongholds. What's its stronghold? The Constitution. How? It's Constitution. All right? Look at this. when the Protestants all came to America to run away from the despotism and the monarchy and the reign of popery in Europe, they came to America, and how were they protected? By the stronghold of America, which is the Constitution, which guarantees the right for freedom of religious faith, right? Where they can vote, where they have a popular vote, then can enact and administer laws, right? There's no feudal system here, right? So there's no socialism here, right? Although now it's being uprooted. Republicanism and Protestantism is being uprooted now, okay? So the Constitution is the stronghold, right? So how is it that, okay, let's go back. How is it that America is going to forecast its devices against the stronghold? He's going to what? He's going to take down the Constitution, right? He's going to compromise the Constitution. He's going to make amendments, right? But here it says, to the latter portion of the verse, this is, your estimate says, to the latter portion of this verse, Bishop Newton gives the idea of forecasting devices from strongholds instead of against them. So it's you're going to use the Constitution to attack, right? So you're going to change the Constitution, but then you're going to use that Constitution for your own agenda to bring in the Sunday law, right? And ye shall forecast it, right? Even for a time. What is a time? What is time? We're here, prophecy. We're a year. What is a year then? If 360 years. So what is 360 years? Where does 360 years start with? Starts with Rome. When did Rome actually conquer the three obstacles? When did Rome actually conquer Egypt? At the Battle of Actium. This is the Battle of Actium. Who were the principals at the Battle of Actium? It's in 31 BC. Who were the principals? It's Octavius against Mark Antony and the queen. He becomes the king of the south, right? She's the queen of the south, right? Queen of denial. Anyway, right? So Octavian defeated them at 31 BC at the Battle of Actium, right? Octavian came because Mark Antony was first part of a triumvirate. Mark Antony, Octavian, and Lepidus, right? But then Lepidus was killed. Mark Antony went to Egypt, fell for the wiles of Cleopatra. So Octavian was left by himself, right? So he became the king of the north, right? He had no more competition now. He's the king of the north now. And he now goes against Mark Antony, which has conspired with Cleopatra. And they were both defeated this is pretty amazing. Cleopatra was all about show. She had the most beautiful ships. It was colored in purple and all kinds of things. But all the people that she hired to be the soldiers or the mariners were not experienced. They just looked great. They had a whole bunch of them. But Octavian, he had a small army, but they were very experienced. So when they came there to fight, now this Cleopatra, now she sees, this is a real fight. What did she do? She runs away. And what does Mark Antony do? Foolish, yeah? He follows her. So what did the rest of the navy do? Hey, wait a minute. We're going to fight, and the leaders are going away.
So we gotta run.
So all the whole navy gives up.
They're part of Augustus.
Yeah, they join with Octavian, which is Caesar Augustus. And in the meantime, in the land, everybody's giving up, right? So they all deserted the king of the south. What does that mean? Actium is actually at the midnight cry. Actium is Panium. What does this mean? All the allies desert Russia. Who's Russia's allies right now? Syria, Hezbollah, Iran, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, all that, all these, what? They are fighting the king of the north. They're fighting America. But all of them are going to desert. Oh boy. Desert. At midnight cry. That's the Battle of Panium. Because Actium is also Panium. There's two wars, Actium and Panium, at a doubling, right? What was that?
Doesn't Islam strike America?
Afterwards.
If they join, then they strike.
Yeah, no, right here, Russia is going to fight with it. But remember, Islam has now consolidated before this war, right? Islam has already consolidated. Now America is going to fight against Russia. Russia still has its allies, right? Russia still has allies, right? But the issue is that the allies are going to desert. In the meantime, Islam has also consolidated their power. But the allies that are still with Russia is going to desert. Okay. And he shall stir up his power and his courage. Well, there, verse 25 and 26. And he shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army. And the king of the south shall be stirred up in battle with a very great and mighty army. Oh, this one is a great, this one is a very great. So it's like a big show. But he shall not stand, for they shall forecast devices against him. Yea, they that feed of the portion of his meat shall destroy him. See? Those who used to be with him, those who he were hiring as mercenaries, now desert him. And because of that, he was destroyed. And his army shall overflow, and many shall fall down slain. See? The battle was on September 2, 31 BC, at the mouth of Ambracia in the city of Actium. Actium is actually in Greece, right? It's in Greece. They had to come up from Egypt up here, and they all fought. And these guys, they didn't come very far. It's from Italy. And I think Rome, this is Brindisi probably right here. But they came and they fought at Actium. Right, now here, this is the story what happened. The allies of the king of the south, which is Mark Antony, deserted him. And what happened to Mark Antony? No, he actually didn't. That's Ptolemy. What did Mark Antony do? He went back to Egypt, right? Because Cleopatra had gone back to Egypt, and so he followed her. But then he saw that he was already lost. He already lost the battle, and what did he do? He fell on his sword and killed himself. So what did Cleopatra do? Yeah, Cleopatra came and wanted to carry him, but anyway, then Cleopatra was killed. What happened to Cleopatra? Oh, right. All right, before we go there, let me go here. Ye that feed the portion of his meat shall destroy him, and his army shall overflow, and many shall slow down. Right? The battle doubtless marks the commencement of the time, right? And it's during the time devices were be forecast from the stronghold for Rome. Right? So that's from 31 BC. That time starts at 31 BC, right? Okay, 31 BC. The prophetic time, or 360 years, will bring us to 330. All right, see? So his devices, his stronghold will move from, all right, let me go back. All right, moved from Rome to Constantinople, right? Yeah, that's when he falls. He rises up in 31 and he falls at 330. He rises up at 31, he falls at 330. And when you add up, that counts to 360 years. 360 years prophetically is 1 year, which is a time, right? But then he's going to fall. So after he rises, he's going to fall, right? Okay. All right, let's look. Yeah, we're almost there. I'm gonna go towards the summary. All right. And the Antony's overthrow was desertion of his allies and friends, right? And it's actually a 4-step process. His fall is a 4-step process. Cleopatra, as already described, suddenly withdrew from the battle, taking 60 ships of the line with her. So here's Cleopatra, right? Secondly, the land army, disgusted with the infatuation of Antony, went over to Caesar, received them with open arms. Thirdly, when Antony arrived at Libya, he found that the forces which he had there left under Scarpus and guard the frontier had declared for Caesar. All his armies even in Libya has deserted. Fourthly, being followed by Caesar into Egypt, he was betrayed by Cleopatra, and his forces surrendered to Caesar. He took his own life, right? But both these kings' heart should be to do mischief, and they shall speak lies at one table. See, before they did this, what did they do? They actually had they actually had a treaty. They were speaking lies to each other at one table, right? So when they're making treaties, when the king of the north and the king of the south make a treaty, what were they doing? They're actually lying to each other. Make it seem as if because the king of the north says, okay, we make a peace treaty now, but I'm gonna get you back. I'm gonna get you back, right? Yeah. That council did not prosper, right? Caesar came off entirely victoriously. So, right? So he's gonna come. So his treaty started at midnight at the battle. Like this one, you can see it at the Raphia. At the Raphia war, they're gonna come after Russia wins against the United States. They're gonna make a peace treaty. But that peace treaty is not gonna come last for very long, because now King of the North is already thinking of how he's gonna make a revenge against the King of the South. All right? Okay. I'm going to try to get. So, right? Mark Antony is gone. Now he's by himself. At midnight cry, Russia is gone. All right? Russia is gone. So, we'll try to summarize here. All right? Let's try to summarize here. This is where we've been at, Look at all it's starting to get pretty busy here. Right, verse 22 and verse 23. Okay, now we'll go to verse 24. And he shall enter peaceably upon the fattest places of the province. Who is it that enters peaceably? Donald Trump, right? So Donald Trump, he's the one that enters peaceably. And he's going to do which his fathers have not done, right? He's making the art of the deal. He's making deals with everybody. And he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds. Oh, no, he's going to start changing the Constitution also here, right? He's changing the Constitution here, right? Constitution being changed. Now Sunday laws start, right? And even for a time. And the time is from here to here, okay? So we see now that, and he's going to make it that even after he falls, he's going to start making up plans to attack again. And his time of attack is the Battle of Actium, right? The Battle of Actium is 31 BC, right? That's verse 25 to 26. This is the Battle of Actium. And he's going to what? For a time. That time is from the midnight cry to the Sunday law. Right? Even for a time. He's going to forecast his devices against the strongholds. He's going to take down the Constitution. Right? And he's going to go against people, the heretics, with that. With the Constitution that has been amended. Right? Now that's verse 25. Now 25, he shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army. Right? There's a great army right here. And then the king at the Battle of Actium, he wins against Russia. Right? And verse 26, yea, that feed of the portion of his meat shall destroy him. Right? At this time, the allies of Russia is going to desert Russia. And Russia is going to fall. Okay. And verse 27. And both these kings' hearts shall be do mischief, and they shall speak lies. But they shall not prosper. For yet the end shall be in the time appointed. Here, the end will be at the time appointed. This is talking about, it's parenthetically. You know what? They were making a peace treaty. Because here they had a peace treaty. Here they had a peace treaty. But then he made a revenge and come here. That peace treaty didn't last long. Right? For yet the end shall be, and the time appointed. Right? Okay. Now, if Russia had fallen here, right? If Russia has fallen here, right? There's going to be you're going to see that there's actually another part here. There's a sixth Syrian war. Russia has fallen here. Now, the papacy is now the king of the north, right? Because Russia has fallen, right? The papacy is now the king of the north. America has won against here. America has done its duty in defeating the king of the south. But when the king of the north is going to go down to the king of the south, wait a minute, Russia already fell. Who's the king of the south now? Who is rising up here? No longer the king of who's the new king of the south? United Nations. The king of the north says, wait a minute, yes, Russia, you are not going to go against the United Nations. You are not going to be the king of the north, right? Right? America, you are not going to go against the United Nations, because the papacy now will dictate to America what to do. It draws the line in the sand, right? That's what we're talking about right after this. And this is talking about the Sixth Syrian War, right? And we'll see that later, okay? So many things that is being put up here. So many graphics I can actually fit it here, but I have to make it into icons because otherwise there's too much information, too busy up here. But we see all these lines, we're starting to put it all together. We're up to verse 26 now. And then what is the 360? The time of that one day is 360. What is 360 also? This is the Daniel 3 verse 1. What is the height of this statue? 60 cubits. What's the width of this statue? 6 cubits. What's 60 times 6? 360. It's 360. What is this? The image of the beast. The image of the beast test is being set up right here. The image of the beast is setting up between here and here, right? It is set up right here. Sunday laws start right here, right? And the Sunday law will be here, right? 360.
It starts at midnight cry? Is that?
Sunday laws start at midnight cry in America, but you realize there's going to be Sunday laws that's going to start in Russia, Russia, because the king of the south will exalt himself here. Here, right? The king of the south is exalt himself here. And start with the pretext of anti-terrorism laws. Okay? So everything is start to be opening up, and these things are happening even as we speak now, because this war has escalated from a proxy war to become a what war? A direct war. Now look at this. This is the 45th president, right? This 45th president is going to go to war against Raphia, which is the 4th Syrian war, right? And this 4th Syrian war was Raphia, which was actually the king of the north going against Ptolemy the Fourth. Ptolemy the Fourth in the 4th Syrian war, right? In this war, he loses. But in this war, which is the 5th Syrian war, he goes against Ptolemy the Fifth, and he wins. The 45th president goes against the 4th Syrian war and the 5th Syrian war, against Ptolemy the Fourth and Ptolemy the Fifth. He's the 45th president. Wow. You see all these, there's so many things you can get out of this. You see? All right. And that is the more sure word of prophecy.